And then we're going to, work on any presentation or public outreach that we might want to do. So I would think at that point, unless you have any suggestions on those items, like how we could maybe do outreach, that
Outreach. Okay, I'll think about that.
That's pretty much it. Like the document, the 99.9% of it's done.
Yeah.
We just gotta.
Yeah, I've heard that before.
Yeah.
I mean,
I didn't say we're having a short meeting.
I didn't. At this point, it's not in our hands anymore. So
Yeah.
like advisory and select board. So Lee, to catch you up on an email that you sent, an email that I received as an update in the background after legal review. They're reopening the warrant. So they did close it, but they're reopening it. They're going to publish version 11 into that warrant.
Which is what we're producing.
What is version 11?
Version 11 is the version that I updated after legal review in the background. He gave us very minor feedback, and I had to put in a stand-in section for now, which is one definition, and we can go over it tonight on what that definition is. But because the permits are capitalized in the one section, the legal was like, you need to define them. So I just threw a definition in there for now, figuring it's easier to amend than it is to add. So we just threw a quick definition into there to move on. But version 11 is the version that that advisory and select board.
We gotta get a scribe going first.
I'll do it.
Okay,
I'm taking notes.
sorry. It's on my list. I went out of order, but all right, continue to march, Tim. Do you need anything that?
So version 11, Tim, it was given to legal for another review.
Correct.
Okay.
Sort of.
It was given to
And
Mark
so version
Purple.
11 so wait a minute. So version 11 has feedback from our legal counsel.
Yeah, so here, let me share my screen. It's going to be easier to talk about it because it was like 3 comments in version 10. So version 11 and version 10 are almost identical, except for like some very minor things. So, but it goes to my screen. So I have a version 11 notes here, which I left the notes in, and I have a cleaned up version that is the same thing, but just without notes. So, Jay Tallerman, legal, said that this doesn't define, or that this doesn't address extra items that we weren't worried about, like additions and that sort of thing. I don't know why this isn't showing up completely, but it says it does not address general permits and other like additions to your house and all the other stuff. And we have capitalized permits here, capitalized items here, proper nouns, so to speak, that are not referenced in the definition section, and we need to add a definition to this. So he's like, you need to define what these are because you're calling them proper nouns. And then like I said that that they're already defining this in the code, and then he replied back saying that we need to still define them here.
I have to question if they're in the code because I was just looking at the permit process, and it's not easy to figure anything out on that on the website. And so I just went in and I opened up a login, and so I could go in and take a look at stuff. And it says like building permit. It doesn't say, maybe it says new construction, but I don't think anything has, what do I want to say? It doesn't have like a true reference to anything like any of these. Like if I went in and like, oh, well, let me look for new construction. Even if it says new construction in the application, they still call it a building permit and it says BP. So I don't know if we need to literally take this down to the building department and say, how would you, take a look at this and let me know if this is correct in this document. Even though she told me over the phone, I was trying to get as much as I could. I didn't have something that like, I couldn't open up, a book and it says, okay, this is the building permit that you need to apply for. And it's not that easy online either. I was
So
looking at that tonight. I was like, I'm gonna look at this.
I was trying to remember, where did we get these from? Was that the conversation you brought back, Lisa? Or was
Yeah,
that?
it was the
I thought
conversation.
that was from Mimi, wasn't it?
No, that was the conversation that I had with the assistant building. I don't know what her
Okay, I
assistant
just-
building commissioner. I don't know if that's what the exact title is, but it was just over the phone. We were trying to figure that out, that there were demolition permits. But if you go online and you start looking, it's just not, it's not a friendly process, in my opinion. And my thoughts were tonight is that, well, if I apply for a building permit and it doesn't specifically say residential, residential new construction permit, then my building permit is, even though it's new construction, it's not titled new construction permit, and there's a loophole to get around it.
Okay, so we should talk about this some more, but it seemed like there was a simple path forward, so it sounds more complicated than a simple path, but I took the simple path to get this done so that way it could be published more accurately and more easily amended should we need to amend it. So there's that. His other comment was about having an exemption process, which we already have in line 110, so he accepted that was already there. And his last comment was he doesn't think section 9 should be included as a whole. And I just simply replied, noted. So we know where that he stands on it, but we know why we included it. So,
So he didn't say anything about the church chimes?
did not bring that one back up. Like this
Oh, good.
was very scarce feedback. It was like 3 comments. So that's all we had from him on this. And here's what the V11 looks like without his comments on the side. So residential new construction permit or demolition permit, specific permits as defined by the Southborough Building Department. That was a simple solution I thought we could implement.
Why don't we change, instead of calling them the names that we called them, which, yeah, Lisa, I just went on and tried to look and it's not easy. Why don't we just say that if they have permits for new construction or demolition, not capitalize anything, then we don't have to define them.
Then everything falls into that same blanket statement, which we
No.
tried to avoid
New
before.
construction, any new construction or demolition.
We were trying to draw a difference between if an existing house that you want to put a deck or an addition, you need a building permit. It's not new construction. It's it's what those titles were. Outside of that, we wanted the land, we wanted the construction that's done on a flat piece of land that it's new right from the ground up, that we were trying to differentiate, like somebody living there doing something and then somebody doing it not living there, kind of. And that's where we got those terms. I thought we got those terms that were pretty, because it was all new stuff.
So if we just said new ground up construction or demolition.
I mean, I think that we could probably not spend any time on this tonight and go back to the building department with what we have written and let them tell us what the permits are specifically, if we got it wrong, if we got it right, if it's just not on the town website in an easily findable format. I think we did a lot of homework to get to this point. The only extra homework that I just did was I added a generic definition, which is just simply saying what they are, which we were under the impression of they were specific permits as defined by the Southborough Building Department. So unless we find out that this is inaccurate, then we would make our definition better. We don't necessarily have to change the paragraph unless what we wrote is incorrect. So I don't think it's worth our time in the meeting tonight. I think this is a good homework item to confirm. And then if it's wrong, then we just simply address whatever is inaccurate about it.
All right, I'll try and I'll go to the town hall tomorrow. I don't know who's free. And see if we can track down this, this building.
But buildings at 9
Department.
Corderville Hall.
Oh, okay, all right, well,
It's next to
we'll
us,
try
the
to
Board of
track down the
Health.
building department, which we have not really been that great on doing.
So
but-
like the building inspector, Lori Lavoli, and the assistant is Julianne Lammy.
Yeah, Julie is very helpful. So
Julianne, yep.
Yeah, Julianne is the one that I'm pretty sure it was her that I spoke with. But after trying to go in and figure out the permits, I know that there's always, someone's always looking for a loophole to get around something
Right,
that.
Yeah, so, yeah,
we-
it's with the
I
back
feel
of
like
the
we need to
senior
go and
center.
take it to them,
yeah,
Going
we
down
need to
to
get
the
something
basement.
in our hands, something.
So we could, if we could get the answer for that tomorrow, the
Yeah.
joint meetings tomorrow night with advisory and select board. So if we had an answer to it, we could always show up to the meeting, and when this comes up as part of their topics, we could have them correct it live in the meeting. And then it's all taken care of and doesn't need to be an amendment later, because they're reopening the warrant for that meeting. And then theoretically, when the meeting's done, they close the warrant. So as long as we could get to that meeting with it, they could amend it live. And then we don't have something published that's not what we're intending. So Pete, I think your idea is good.
Okay. All right,
Come
is
say
anybody
hi.
free tomorrow?
Come say
There was-
hi from there.
I mean, I can make myself available. I'm super busy these days.
All right, I think it's better if there's two people, then there's less accusations of somebody taking their own opinion or whatever, I always like to have as many people as possible, minus a quorum, of course.
but Peter,
Well,
they're
Pete,
usually
what
they're
time are
not
you
there
going?
that often.
Pardon me?
I mean, Heather might know, but every time I've gone
Building,
there,
they're almost always there. Sometimes
Julie's
Julianne
always
takes time.
there. But
You're looking for Lori Lavoli?
yeah, I mean, that's the one I would talk to.
Right. Lori tomorrow. So we're maybe doing an inspection with her at 11. These things are fluid. She said she was out in the morning doing inspections, Lori, and she was going to fit the one I want to do with her.
Okay.
Yeah, Julianne is there 7 to 4. Generally, Lori.
I'll call her I'll call in the morning first thing and see,
Lori, you can sometimes
Yep.
catch first thing or maybe in the afternoon.
and then we'll see if we can set something up, or if she can just do it over the phone, or email me the documents or whatever.
I think
Yeah.
at the end of the day, it's a pretty simple solution though. So I think if we agree on what the solution is, then we're okay just getting it implemented in time for tomorrow night, hopefully. And
It
I think
might be, the word that might be different, it might be application rather than permit. So it may be new construction residential new construction application, and then once that's approved, it turns into a building permit, maybe, I don't know.
I don't know, I wasn't finding anything really online. I've been searching while we've been talking.
Yeah, there's-
but I think we know what the goal is. We know that we're
Right.
trying to close the A&R loophole. We're
So
just
what, once I do that and come to gather some evidence or the titles and so forth. So what do we want to do now as far as the meeting tomorrow? You said the meeting's tomorrow, Tim?
Yeah, there's a meeting tomorrow, so like we if we all show up and we have a quorum, we could run into a problem.
Yeah, because we can't post a meeting right now for
Yeah.
tomorrow.
Right.
But I mean, like, I typically call into stuff like that anyway, so I was intending on calling into it and just watching it as an attendee, and then if there was a reason to chime in, then chime in. But if we think that there's something inaccurate that we want to fix before it gets published, that would be an even more of a reason to call into it too. So I would just say, like, if we are organized about how we do it, where it's like, if we find out some information, we update it, we send them V12 and say, this section changed and this section changed. Can you just put these words into your V11? They already have V11. They could just simply put the words in.
Right.
And then decide if they want to support or not support it, because they're going through the entire packet tomorrow. So
Yeah.
as far as I know, they're doing a full review of everything that would go to town meeting in their meeting to decide if they approve or.
They might finish by May.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's my understanding. I didn't look at the full agenda of what they have going on, but that's my understanding of what's happening.
So,
Can I ask a question?
yep, go ahead, Lisa.
So if we were all to show up tomorrow just to listen in because we're residents and we're really not on the agenda to talk, I mean, would that be considered a quorum even though we're not talking?
I think only if we have a discussion among all of us. So I'm not. It's
So
not
they
my-
would have to pull us in.
Yeah, they would have to pull us all in. So if they only pulled in 1 or 2 people, you can't have a discussion that would be considered a quorum that would break public meeting law. I mean, you're just listening at that point. You're not
Yeah,
actually.
Lisa, I thought the exact same thing when with the selectmen's meeting, if it's just a couple of, even if we all showed up at a selectmen's meeting, free country, right? I
Yep.
said, and we don't deliberate, we're just telling you what we've got going, asking you a question. There's no deliberate, we're not taking a vote. They said, they said, no, the fear is that it could happen. It could happen out in the
So-
hall, it could happen in the parking lot. I'm
Right,
like,
my
but this
understanding,
is virtual. It can't happen in the hall. It can't happen in the parking lot. It's
Right.
virtual.
I once
No, I
saw
got
this.
voted down on that, and that's
Yeah.
why we got rejected on a selectmen's meeting. We had to go to the next selectmen's meeting.
I was once saw a similar circumstance and they asked some members of a committee to watch on YouTube.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, well, that would work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, how comfortable are we? I mean, I just recited the general goal. We wanted to kind of separate the two. Did I understand that? Am I representing that as what the committee thoughts are on that particular subject? And if I'm not, speak up, because my thought would be if I can just change a couple things that meet that goal. In other words, if there's different words we got to put in, that if maybe I could have the leeway to do that and then just send it to advisory with that change, would that be okay? Or am I, because otherwise, I don't know what we can do at this point, unless we do it in the meeting.
I mean, I think we could create, if we discover that the building doesn't have a definitions for line 21, then we could create definitions. Residential new construction permit is a permit given for for new construction.
On an A&R lot, right? Because that's all we need.
Or not.
That's all we need to do is cover the A&R lot.
Then why don't we just do that tonight then?
It's just, but it's not specifically just for A&R lot. It's for lots of different projects.
Aren't those covered by the planning board's already existing site
But
plan?
it doesn't hurt us to, be more inclusive.
I'm just trying to say, like, there's already a lot. The reason that my understanding, the reason we put this into here is because an A&R lot doesn't need to go through the planning board site plan review. So we would need to, what we're trying to do is make sure we don't have a neighbor taking a buildable lot, nobody's living there, and then making noise at ridiculous hours and just days straight on end. And what we're trying to do is make sure that loophole was closed.
So one way to do it would be to say residential new construction permit is a permit to do new construction on any lot in Southborough, including those for which approval is not required. Planning board approval is not required.
But that would also
By saying including, we cover both the A&R and the non-A&R.
Right, but that's going to include a regular lot that somebody lives on, like Tim putting a deck on his house.
No, it would be because we said new construction.
Well, he's building a new deck. Is that
Well, you
That's
can
the-
say,
We could say this, we could be specific in the definition and say this excludes renovations of existing. I mean, if we were so inclined, I mean, you know, it's not, we're doing the definition. So if we want to make the definition exclude renovations, we can put that literally in the definition.
Yeah.
Then commercial new construction would be a parallel for that, and demolition permit would be a parallel for that as well. But I would make each one a separate, potentially separate.
If we think that's the fastest path forward, I'm for the fastest path forward. I'm also
Me too.
not wasting a bunch of time tonight doing this if we don't think that that's the right path. But Lee, you just gave a pretty solid definition that I think covers most of the loopholes, and I did not write it down, so you're going to have to give it to me again.
So a residential new construction permit is a specific permit for new construction. We don't have to say in Southborough, so we don't need to say in Southborough. New construction
Of existing structures?
no, residential new
No, because
construction.
it's,
Specifically for new construction in any lot, including approval not required lots. That'd be in commas.
but don't forget approval not required lots is not, it's not a term.
Including those lots where approval is not required.
There we go, yes. Yes,
By
Where planning board approval is not required. And excluding renovations and additions.
oh, yeah.
All right, so that would be, that'll be our working. We can work off of this to see whether we need to refine it. Let's see how that reads.
I have a lot of typos because I was typing fast and fix things.
So we probably don't need the word specific.
Mhm.
Lisa, does that address your situation you had in your neighborhood?
Well, I think it's important that we, let them know that this also covers subdivisions, so on and so forth, because we know that nothing gets enforced. So I think everything needs to be, it needs to be specific in the bylaw. So that when they call the police, well, it doesn't say that in the bylaw. So, even though it's new construction in a subdivision or whatever, the other things that we talked about, which I don't have in front of me right now. I think it needs to be specific because someone will try to get around it.
Yeah.
Well, how
No,
about
but
if we say
we
whether
say
or
what you just
not
wrote,
planning
yeah.
board approval is required? Residential new construction permit, a permit for new construction on any lot.
So it probably needs to say for new residential construction.
No, because there's also commercial, like.
Right.
everybody-
And this is the definition of residential new construction permit.
Right.
So this one will be for new residential.
Okay, in a
construction
separate
on line
one.
24. Because then we'll have a parallel one for commercial new construction permit that will just substitute the word commercial with.
Is there a difference in permitting?
Well, that's what we kind of need. It's what she told me over the phone, but when I went in to look at the website, I was like, oh, maybe I need to make sure that everything lines up. And you can look at, if you can sign in, you could look at a certain a certain lot, and you can see what building permits have been pulled. And so I looked at the house that's near me, and it just says building permit, and it doesn't say new construction on it. And I was like, oh, I don't know if this is a good thing or not.
John, I see a hand up.
I think you need to take out, whoops, sorry.
Sorry. I'm just trying to think outside the box. So the line item says any work that generates an unreasonable disturbance beyond the property line. Who cares about if they pull the permit? So let's say I have I have a yard with a crazy lawn, little hill, and so forth. Do I need to pull a permit to level my backyard? I don't think so. Can we avoid all this permitting stuff? It's just any work that generates an unreasonable disturbance beyond the property line, is only allowed between 7 a.m. and 6 p.m., blah, 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 period. Who cares if they pulled a permit or not? Because, if I have I'm just thinking in my backyard, I have a couple of mounds of hills and I could get an excavator, come in and flatten it, and I don't need a permit for that. And I'm creating a lot of noise.
So the only difference between 1 and 2 is, the Saturday at 2 p.m., right?
No, but I'd be I don't have an excavator. I'd love one. I'm like, a little Tonka kid, but I'd have to pay somebody to do that, which is a paid work.
So the intention here was that we were trying to limit the, like major construction projects like a new house. And we wanted that to be subject to the 2 p.m. on Saturday rule. So number 2, lines 41 through 44, basically adds that capability for that particular class of contracted work. Everything else.
I was just trying to figure out for the rest to think are we adding a restriction that doesn't need to be restricted, meaning the permit process? I'm just thinking outside the box again.
No,
Well,
John,
it's because currently those A&R lots don't fall under planning board, even though.
They will now. Contracted noise.
Well,
Right, but then they have that, they can go till 7 p.m. on Saturdays.
right.
Not anymore. I mean, we say any work generated by unreasonable disturbance, blah, blah, it's 2 a.m. to 7 p.m., 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. on Saturdays. They have to,
yeah, but
right?
no, but then John, this is also including lawn crews and other things like that too, which is not what we were initially trying to have covered. Your approach would also have those types of activities cut off at 2 p.m.
Okay, I was just trying to figure out how to simplify this. I'm still trying to get to one page.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I mean, like, the unpopular opinion would be we're causing more work for ourselves to close a, 4-hour loophole.
No, I agree we should close it. Let's be reasonable, but I'm just trying to figure out how to.
Well, an
if-
easy thing to do would be just say any building permit, and that, you've got, you need to follow that. Even if you're a homeowner doing the work, you can start at 7, you have to be done by 6, Monday through Friday. And on Saturday, you're going to work 6 to 2 and
Yeah.
nothing on
And
nothing on Sunday for any building permit that's been pulled.
So
I don't
that
think
goes
that-
back
that-
to if somebody's building a shed on their property or building a deck and they've pulled a
Yep.
permit, now they can't work after 2. That's not going to fly with homeowners.
Right.
I mean, you don't know.
Issue, because
You don't know that, but it certainly
It's not
makes
going to
it
fly,
simpler.
Lisa.
It's
There
not,
is
it's not,
no
it's not
way.
gonna
Cindy,
fly. 'cause-
that's
about-
your opinion, okay?
Lisa,
We
That's your
talked about
opinion.
not,
But I'm just
not-
saying, if we don't want to complicate it, it would make it easy. We could just say building permit, and that would be done.
Cindy,
but we're
Cindy, that is
putting
your,
a restriction now on homeowners that we said we did not want to restrict. People who are doing projects in their own yard, the king of the castle thing, we've already talked about that a dozen times. That's really changing our intent.
Just a point of order. We're not the final experts on this thing.
No.
like the building department is going to clarify this. The only reason that we started putting a definition here was to have something in our back pocket to get to the end solution quicker. So if they say we can just quickly define them and these things are real, then we have the thing in our back pocket. So, we're spending a bunch of time on this when this wasn't going to be our primary focus tonight, trying to simplify something we thought was simplified. So I think we finished these 3 definitions the way that Lee was going. They seem to be pretty inclusive. They're in our back pocket. We have that conversation tomorrow and we could say, is this something we need to put in? Or do these already exist and we're just wasting our time?
Permit for new residential construction.
So lines 24 through 26, it doesn't scan right. It doesn't read right. So it's a permit for new residential construction on any lot.
You need to leave out including those lots. That
Yeah.
has to come out
Yeah,
and it'll read right.
whether or not planning board approval is required. And take out the word lots in line 27, the second word lots, after required. On the other side, go to the end of the line, that lots.
Tim, can you make that a little bit bigger, please?
So now reads a permit for
Thank you.
new residential construction on any lot, whether or not planning board approval is required, and excluding renovations and additions.
So what's the purpose of saying or not, whether or not planning board approval is required? If it just says any lot, isn't that any lot?
Because we wanted to make it
True.
really specific that A and R lots were included, that's why.
Yeah, but they're any lot, they're part of any lot though, aren't they?
No, they're not, they don't have to have approval by planning board.
Right, but it's still a lot in
It's still an
Southborough.
any lot, like, it's still an any lot. It's a lot, right?
I think
But
you
right
are
now, the
correct.
builders know that they don't have to do certain things if it's an A&R lot. And
You're right, you're
which
right, you're right.
includes the planning board's guide to work standards.
So,
You're
I
definitely
think-
right.
We're both
But it's
right.
still a lot. We're addressing any lot, the whole town of Southborough, not the A&R, not the planning, any lot, period. So why do we have to muddle it up by saying planning board approval? Like, get rid of that. Just say
So the
any
only
lot.
reason to leave it in is because it, for educational purposes, that would be, in case somebody had a question, that would get rid of the question. And if we leave it in, there needs to be a comma after lot before whether, and a comma after required and before and.
Okay.
And you can actually take
Permit
out
for
the
new-
and before excluding. Mhm.
I know that this probably isn't necessary, but should this say excluding both renovations and additions since they're kind of,
Sure, that makes it, that's like neither nor, both and.
So what if they do a demolition and they leave one wall of a house and then they put up a whole house around it? Is that considered a new construction permit or is that considered an addition?
I have no idea.
That's probably
considered
probably
renovation.
renovation.
That's renovation.
Yeah, I would
So-
think.
Yeah.
Lee, the quick question, what if we change all this just to permit? You pull a
Oh.
permit, you're under this guideline.
So
Right.
construction permit, yeah.
The
Right.
construct,
So that may include renovations and additions, and that's, as everyone was saying earlier, would take away from the homeowner who might want to do their renovations and additions.
no, because that section's an under paid contract. The homeowners has an exemption.
Yeah, because you have to look to where construction permit gets, because what you're saying is get rid of residential So actually, get rid of the words residential and just make it new construction permit.
Correct. That's what I was thinking too. Get rid of that line 26, 27, 28, and just say, and the word residential on 24, and just say new construction permit. They'd be the same.
So within it, could you say for residential or commercial projects or something, so that at least it's included in that definition? You know what I'm saying?
I guess.
New construction permits for residential and commercial construction.
So on line 24 would say, so it would say, new construction permit, colon, a permit for new residential or commercial construction on any lot, whether or not the planning board approval is required, excluding
Right.
both renovations and additions.
Yeah, I mean, that sums up both those things, yeah.
Then we get rid of at least one whole definition. Then we only have to do demolition.
Okay, Lee, reiterate that to me.
So on line 24, take out residential at the beginning and yep, now capitalize new. And then a permit for new residential or commercial construction. And then get rid of lines 27 through 29.
Great.
And then we'd have to then go down and modify.
Line, right, we'll have to modify line 39.
Yeah.
To just say new construction permit. Instead of residential new construction permit and commercial new construction permit. Those two lines would become just new construction permit.
Before I do all that, if I do that, are we going to change our approach for tomorrow and say, we're going to take V12 to the planning board and say, this is how we think it should read. So we could then send those changes, if approved by the building department, to select board and whatnot, and say, this is the change we think makes more sense.
Well, if we do this, then we don't really even have to do the building department. It just sits on its own.
Right.
Okay, so this is the smarter way to go, so we're not spinning
Right.
our, okay.
Yep.
So if I come back down to this section,
Right.
right here.
Line
so-
39.
39, you strike from residential through the word commercial.
So
Oh,
we
yeah,
don't
you do it that way too.
any of that, right?
Yep.
And then we just need to define demolition permit.
Now we need to define demolition permit in a.
Wait a
simpler-
minute. You gotta make new construction permit not in capitals.
No, it's okay in capitals because it's up here in capitals, right?
New construction permit.
Oh, okay. Right. He said if it was defined. Okay, got it.
Well, I mean, we could get rid of the capitals because we don't necessarily need them, and we're just defining what that term is up here. But I don't know if it really matters one way or the other if it's capital or not in this situation. We're just defining what a new construction permit is up here.
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay, so if we do this, I'm gonna add demolition permit.
It really bothers me that we have to define these things.
Yeah. Well,
I know.
I mean, we're giving an exclusion to make sure that it doesn't cover the things we said we didn't want it to cover.
So we still want to do a permit for residential and commercial demolition on
I
any
think-
lot?
I think that this definition, though, still does not cover, we'd have to put excluding down here. I think sheds and decks still fall in this first part, right? I know we just said something a second ago about, well, it's in the contracted roof noise, so therefore it doesn't apply to the homeowner. But I don't know if that's true all the way through, since it's a specific item.
yeah, I'm not sure how, how much of a problem a shed or a deck done commercially is actually going to turn out to be, because, I mean, that should be a pretty quick project if it's done by a contract. If you're doing it itself, it could take you a whole bunch of weekends.
Well,
But-
that's what I'm wondering is like, if you're doing it yourself and you're doing a whole bunch of weekends, and you pull a permit to do it because you went over, well, I think you need it anyway, but I think it's 120 square feet or larger, you need it. So say you're building yourself a little 10 by 12 shed over the course of several weekends, is Joe Schmo, the homeowner who pulled the permit to do it, going to be restricted by this to only working on Saturday until 2 p.m.? Or
I
is-
don't think so, because
They're
it's
not-
not
They're
contracted.
not contracted work.
I mean, because the only thing that restricts it is lines 39 through 42, which is under contracted.
Right, right.
Okay.
So I think you, the homeowner, will be able to you're under the lines 43 through 45.
That's where it is going to be confusing, because a homeowner's going to read this and go, any work, oh, that includes me doing my shed. They're not going to, unless they read the section before that says,
Right, because the only place we reference the construction and the demolition permit is in lines 39 through 42.
right,
I mean, Lee, I know what you mean by it. I'm no lawyer to know that that's
Yeah.
exactly how this would be interpreted at the end of the day. I would feel okay just simply adding shed and deck to exclusions. But
I think it's
just for
confusing.
that one instance, you know?
Hmm.
Right, but now you're excluding it for commercial purposes too, if you put it there.
Yeah, what if a contractor is like a restaurant that's open or whatever and decides to rip out a deck or rip out something and put in a whole big deck?
They would just get 4 more hours on a Saturday. That's all that's doing, right? You get 4.
Yeah, 5 hours, yeah, 4 hours.
So I
No,
mean,
but
like,
if Ken Foods wanted to add an addition to their facility, we just added an exemption to them, right?
for
Mhm.
4 hours.
Yep.
For 4
I
hours.
understand,
on
it's still 4 hours. I'm just saying that if it's paid work, I wouldn't have any exemptions. Move on. Let's keep it simple.
Yeah, I agree with John.
As long as it actually reads that way, which I mean, logically, it makes sense. I just don't know if that's 100% ironclad.
Yeah, because the homeowner can do their thing. It just says noise associated with homeowner work.
So one of the
Contract work.
recommendations, if you guys agree, is the homeowner noise standards, that little 3 lines should be above the contractor work, because people lose interest as they read. So reinforce, oh yeah, okay, I understand that. And then they'll lose interest when they get to the contractor standards.
that's a good point.
Could do that.
So I'm okay with that, but we already sent this over and we're trying to make minimal changes for tomorrow's meeting.
But that's just an order. That's just an
Yeah.
order. That's not like we revamped that.
That's a good point.
Yeah, we're not changing our philosophy.
Right,
Probably you could probably send that to them in advance
right.
and just show them what we did. Or that we
I'll
changed.
just put the sections in red that we changed.
Yeah.
Can we get back to demolition permit definition?
Yeah, that's the only one we need.
Is that going to be the same thing as above, only submit demolition for the word construction and the same definition as above?
And just a permit for the removal of a structure on any lot.
I mean, that's pretty much what a demolition permit is, right?
Yep.
I don't know. Yeah, I guess, sure. I guess, sure.
Yeah, I think that covers all the different types of demolition, whether it's implosion, explosion, mechanical, induced, explosions.
Yeah.
It covers that all kinds of demolition is the science and engineering in safely and efficiently tearing down of buildings and other artificial structures.
So the ones in red are the ones that we just modified.
Yep, okay.
So it says demolition is the dismantling, razing, destroying, or wrecking of any building or structure of any part thereof.
But we've said removing a structure. So that pretty much covers
I think that
anything that a contractor might be
There you go,
doing.
or part thereof.
I just added that piece to it, or part thereof.
Okay.
Yeah. Dismantling, razing.
So I'm on the town's website. So they do have a demolition permit section. They also have a building permit. And this application is used for new construction, renovations, alterations, change, blah, 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 blah. So maybe that's why the lawyer asked us to define it.
Yeah.
And I think that's where Lisa logged into earlier. Yes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I looked, it didn't really give definitions, but I was
No.
going in and I see, there's a building permit, but it doesn't say it was a new construction building permit.
They're
Oh.
expensive.
I think we did a good job on defining it.
I think it's fine.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm
And
happy
if
with
it
it.
doesn't work, I guess we just go back and try to change it next year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, are those all the items that the lawyer talked about, Tim?
Yeah, that was the biggest one. And like I said, I took a stab at it so we didn't have it coming from zero to make it easier.
You probably want to move line 23 up to between 11 and 12. Just if you're keeping them alphabetical. Yeah, there you go.
How do we feel about, is discussion been exhausted on this latest version? Are we prepared to take a vote on accepting this as we've just touched it up?
Yeah, I'm exhausted.
Okay, so I'll take that as
I'll move it.
okay. So a yes vote is accepting it as it's been altered currently?
Are we accepting this as like putting our stamp on it, or are we just accepting the changes?
Yes, it's one and the same. Yep,
So we're voting to support this to send on.
yes.
Yes.
All right, Lee,
Aye, in favor.
Pete, yes. John,
Aye.
yes. Lisa,
Aye.
yes. Tim,
Yes.
Cindy?
Yes,
Okay, unanimous.
Okay, so V12 as updated.
Yes.
Okay, what's the next on the list, Pete?
So, Tim, can you just forward that to the entire committee so we all have a copy of it?
Yep, I'll do it right now.
And I will forward that. Actually,
Sam's in the audience, so Sam, if you want to chime in here on anything about the process of how you guys typically go with an advisory and how some of the changes that we just made, what's the best way to get that implemented for tomorrow's review? If you have anything to add to that, that would be great.
Yeah, Tim, I actually am not sure of what the process is going to be. Lisa, as chair, actually manages that process. So I would send whatever you have to Lisa. I think Mark's out on vacation this week. At least I heard he was going. So again, Lisa is the right contact point, I think, for getting stuff into the pipeline. And then typically, we'll look at it, and if folks have comments or whatever, we'll try to incorporate them. And obviously listen to any feedback that advisory has on it as well. But I'm actually not sure exactly what the process is for getting the stuff into the warrant. I thought we were done, but it sounds like we're not from other things I'm hearing. So it's not clear to me exactly, where that stands at this point. So sorry, I can't be more helpful than that, but I am not myself certain about what the next steps are for closing the warrant and getting all the paperwork done for town meeting. But again, Lisa is the right contact point.
So Tim, I will forward that to Lisa, saying that it was approved as the final draft for this committee. And I'll send it to her to do with it as she wishes.
I'd copy Mark Purple as well.
I'll do that too.
Always helpful. Yeah.
Is everybody okay with that?
And
Lisa.
Pete, just mention to her that it was because we received feedback from legal.
Okay.
And Tim, are you able to send out the version 11 to us too?
Yep.
That'd be great. Thanks.
Yeah, we need to include it in the notes because we talked about it.
Gotcha.
She's gonna need that for the the minutes. Oh, speaking of minutes, did everybody get to read 317's minutes?
Yep.
Is everybody for the show, everybody cool with accepting those? Okay. I see thumbs up all the way around, so I'm gonna accept those. Good job. Yeah, I'm gonna send that email to Lisa. We didn't do the public comment. I guess we could open it to public comment, but
There's nobody there, so.
yeah. So we've been at it for an hour. I mean, we've put in some long hours on this. If you want to keep going, we can, but
I have a jumping off point if we wanted to look at something and maybe take it for homework, if nothing else.
I would,
For the presentation?
Yeah, presentation, it's part of the presentation,
Okay.
or outreach, however you want to look at it. It's kind of the same thing, in my opinion.
yeah, that's on the agenda anyway, presentation, outreach, yeah.
Okay, so I'll pull it up here then. So I just took a stab at what some of, I think, the frequently asked questions we're going to get are. Obviously my own words, but I'm sure we have more, but I don't think we're going to get a lot more.
Tim, I created a list. I think the biggest question we have coming in based on the survey and last year's meeting, and Sam might get some input, is, well, why the heck do we need a bylaw? Most of the people in the audience are like, I've never had a noise issue. Don't bother me. And I think we're going to have to just say that, acknowledge that most citizens in the town have not had a noise issue, will probably never have a noise issue. But the reason for this bylaw is there's a small handful of residents who have had noise related disturbances, and there's no and from our enforcement police, there's no enforcement of any
Well, there's nothing they can
Noise.
do
yeah.
because there isn't a bylaw.
And for me,
Right.
that's the one statement we have to start with, because that'll
Yeah.
keep everybody like, oh, now, because that's a big question. And then I think you guys talked about the top three, a few examples, a construction starting on next to your house that they keep the excavator running for hours. The police have no recourse to tell them to shut that thing off.
how about, I wonder if we could do something like current, and then if this bylaw is passed. Because
Scenarios.
I don't want the blame to be put on the person that's the victim of the noise. Like, I don't want them to look like, that they're the problem when it's the noise that's the problem.
We could
follow
say
me?
we have noise issues in town in certain areas.
And, one thing we could do is, look through the town code and find some other examples of things that affect the minority of people. But for those who are affected, you need to have something on the books for it.
Right.
I have to go look through the town bylaws to see what some examples were. But I'm sure there are plenty of things like, for example, nobody goes speeding down my street because I'm a dead end. But we need to have speeding laws. I know that's a state thing, not a Southborough thing, but that kind of thing only apply it to Southborough.
So we don't need to wordsmith all these here live, but I figured it was a jumping off point that we could maybe get further quicker, to have something to respond to.
Yeah. And, I think a good way of getting some of this stuff out will be to have, like somebody, maybe the editor at mysouthborough.com can interview somebody from the committee.
Leah, you volunteering?
Oh, no, I was volunteering you.
No, she's not going to want me. I'm a libertarian.
I mean, I do think that this is a good idea, even for the town meeting floor, boom, boom, boom.
Yeah. Pete, you have a good idea though about the maybe like a 3-column sort of approach to this. So you have the situation, and then it would have like the current solution, and then like the noise bylaw solution. So it could be, it would be a couple of things that are, complacent and whatnot. So one would be like, kids playing in the yard during the day. Maybe like current solution, listen to kids playing in the yard during the day. Noise bylaw solution, listen to kids playing in the yard during the day.
Or just say, no, not addressed or whatever.
Yeah. Because then that gets rid of like the comment we had before about kids playing. But then we'd have like, giant excavator running beside your house, and then we could like deal with that appropriately.
Right. Well, the vacant lot next door to you is now being, they're putting up a house.
Yeah.
And how does this address it? Not addressed because it's a non-conform, and now we have guidelines.
Yeah.
Like that kind of thing.
We need like maybe 4 or 5, like keep it really
right. Yep.
reasonable, but like some of the bigger ones that people we get, like, snow blowing, kids playing, and then, like lawn crew is a big one. So we'd put the lawn crew in there.
I think that we should put that like as a second part, like make frequently asked questions, the first section, and then have a section that says, so what will it mean? And use that, because FAQs are definitely how stuff gets communicated quickly. People are used to seeing that, and I think these are great. And then do like a next section that says, what will this mean? Or I'm not sure what and do the with and without thing, because I think that's powerful too.
Yeah, I like that idea.
Also,
Peter, I have a question. What is the plan for this? Is this something you would do at town meeting to explain the purpose of the bylaw?
So we talked about 2 things, right? We talked about an outreach ahead of time. So once we get the final warrant that would go out, we'd try to do an education to inform people as they read on it ahead of time. And then town meeting floor, there'd be a presentation that would be part of the this section, like a couple slide presentation to kind of clarify what the document is.
Okay, one thing you might consider is a handout with the facts
I was just going to say that. I was going to give it to you to hand out at the transfer station.
at town meeting.
And transportation.
That's a little tricky. But at town meeting, various people, including myself, have actually printed up a summary sheet and put it on the table outside the meeting room for people to collect. People have a lot of spare time. in the meeting and are always pretty interested in reading stuff. So that's a good way to communicate. The downside is that you may have a list of questions that people haven't thought about and find something that they object to. So it's a bit of a double-edged sword there, but you at least have an opportunity to educate, so you don't have to do it all in the 2 minutes that you have to describe the proposed bylaw. So again, another way you might think about it, but it's been used effectively in the past.
Well, in this actually could be either the handout or part of the handout too.
Right. It could be anything. We could forward this to My South Pro. We could do it at, talking engagements, whether it's the library or wherever, that, there's all kinds of programming we could do.
Mhm.
It's just something that we can all work on together and all agree on, that it's a fair representation of what we did for the last 2 months,
More than 2 months.
Yeah,
3
yeah.
months.
It's
You don't wanna-
November.
I counted the hours. You don't want to know. So, Peter, just FYI for you guys, obviously nothing's guaranteed to pass. At a certain point, this will pass not based on a logical argument. It will pass on a irrational behavior of our citizens, meaning how they feel about this and whether we are restricting their perceived freedoms. And I'm saying that because I didn't realize we had a noise bylaw. And if you're trying to convince me to vote for this, it has nothing to do with logic. It has to do with tell me the story of the neighbor up the street that got woken up because they kept the excavator running for hours, or another example. That is the emotional aspect. I think we need to help some of the citizens that spoke up at the last summer's town meeting and make sure we address their issues. The other comment I want to make is Peter Lapine will rise up and say something
Mhm.
derailing this whole thing. So I'm a chess player, so I'm always looking at 2-3 moves and making sure that I'm not trying to win. I'm just trying to do the best thing for the town. And nothing against Peter. I think Peter had some good thoughts and so forth. I think he was just too aggressive for what the town needs today.
Okay.
And I agree, John. I think that that's a definite that's going to happen.
But look, Al Hamilton, he always speaks up. He's very vocal. He's very thoughtful. He's very logical. How do we convince somebody who's, I want to call it libertarian, but somebody who's more, reduce the government, control, and how do we have him not stand up and complain about this? I'm not saying his name, but he's, there are people who speak up on a regular basis, which Sam would know more than we do. And how do we help address those? Because if those people have real legitimate issues, then this shouldn't pass. But I really think we've threaded the needle of something very balanced that is a really good foundation for the town.
John, one thing I've done in the past is actually reach out to those folks and sat down with them before the meeting and say, can we talk? I'd appreciate your input. Do you have concerns? And let me explain what we're trying to do here. And at least if you don't convince them to support, you have a better understanding of what the points they're likely to make, and you're better prepared to address them.
That's convincing 101. Before you go to the meeting to get a vote, make sure you know how the votes line up.
Mhm.
Yep. That's doing your homework.
Yeah.
Okay, so how much more time do we want to spend on this list that I put together? I think it's more if we missed anything tonight.
No, I think that's a great start. I think it should be like a one-page thing.
So were there anything else in like the top 5 things from our survey that, and not just in terms of noise categories, but in terms of any of the top 5 things that we didn't, that either we didn't go along with what the survey, like, the leaf blowers, for example, that we need to explain why we had the survey but didn't follow along with it?
So Lee, on my note I have, we need to discuss why we're not really tackling the Ken's food situation.
Yes.
And by doing that, actually, we make our case stronger. What I mean by that is, this is under the control of the health board and so forth, and we did not want our bylaw to overreach somebody else's, control and so forth. So, taking a negative, meaning we didn't do it, but this is why. It's,
Yes, but that's exactly the kind of thing I think
Tim,
that.
can you put that in? Can you write
Yeah,
that one
we
out?
should.
Yeah, and I wouldn't call it Ken's foods, but I would make it clear in the description that I couldn't refer to anything other than something like Ken's.
Yeah.
Because I don't think we want to single out a particular,
How about industrial noise addressed, not heavily regulated? How about addressed in the noise bylaw?
Yeah, good.
Yeah, I'm just highlighting that because, some of the citizens that were actually on a regular basis listening to us were from that part of the town. So,
Right.
So I just want to make sure that they hear our voice because they took their time to listen to.
And we probably spent 25% of our time talking about this issue.
Yeah.
Even though though everything we put is just informational.
And maybe you could include in this, and I don't know if Heather would want this here. You could say, if you have concerns about industrial or commercial noise, you should reach out to the Board of Health.
We didn't want to overstep. I think that was a good way of saying it.
I'm just not really thinking it through.
Yeah, but something like that would be good, I think.
Doesn't have to be perfect right now.
Yeah, if you've got the essence.
Yeah.
So one of my other notes for tonight was, why did you guys make it different for contract paid for homeowners in terms of hours?
Yeah.
The answer for me is, if I'm a homeowner and my neighbor is having a party, I'm not going to make noise to be neighborly. But if you have a paid contractor, they're showing up on Sunday and doing their work and getting out. So the neighbor who's having a weekend party now gets disturbed. So I think it's just creating the story for that situation. Kind of says, okay, that kind of makes sense. Like during the summer when, about what, 10% of the town are at the Cape, they're still having the lawn service. They don't care about the noise at their home, but
Right.
their neighbors might. So,
well, plus the fact that you work, the general homeowners work all week and they only have that time to work on their house, where the contractors have all week to do that.
Right.
They have more time available than a homeowner. But I think that's excellent. That's all along the lines of what we need to do, come up with a, one pager or whatever. We can talk further, maybe at a next meeting, about how we want to do this. I can certainly reach out to some of the, people at town meeting that do talk regularly. I can email them and see if, if they're willing to have a conversation. Usually they are. We can do, I don't know, something at Moro's, something at the Dunkin' Donuts, like the transfer station. And now things are starting to open up. I don't know if there's going to be public meetings at like the senior center, if they're going to have gatherings, or the library, or
The deck at Owens.
yeah.
So Peter, I have two other items. I think it's essential that we have law enforcement both endorse and be at the town meeting supporting this bylaw, because if they don't support it, we lose some momentum here. So I know Chief Paulus was always at the was at the last summer's meeting, and he endorsed a bylaw. He just didn't endorse the one that was proposed. So we need that. So that's key. The other one I have is, Cynthia, is there a way to get a feedback on, majority of, landscapers and so forth, whether they see this bylaw as impacting their fundamental business, or they can work around it, meaning that's minimal impact. Again, saying that to the town kind of deflates certain people.
John, on your police item, I have been talking to the acting police chief.
Yeah.
He's been quite busy with meetings and so forth, and I did keep him advised, and I did send him a couple versions. So I will. He is on board with the no meters, and he didn't show any objection to what we presented so far. So I will make it a point to go through with this with him and make sure that we have his support.
And if we could actually be at the town meeting in May, it's essential because somebody's going to ask a question. How does our law enforcement feel about this law? And if somebody's not there from our town, we lose a little bit of credibility.
Yeah, there's a number of sergeants too that live in, and officers that live in town.
Yeah,
that we should probably reach out to as well.
Okay.
John, to answer your question, as part of our outreach, I would be, once we get this done and, we have the final version, I would be more than happy to contact a few of the lawn care companies that do business in town to see if they can, live with it.
Okay. Again, just trying to, get that sort of, not endorsement, but saying, yeah, we understand it. We can work around this. This is not a big deal. It's just part of doing business, or it's a major issue, and then we'd have to address it. I'd have the same thing for construction crews, but construction crews are a little bit more less pleasant.
Right.
I don't know how to say it any other way. Actually, it's not all of them, just a few of them. Sam, is there anything else you can think of that we could plan to improve the probability of moving forward on this at the town meeting?
I think you touched on most of them. Again, to anticipate objections and try to deal with them before the meeting, having a good way to inform people of what's going on with the proposal. And, that's about it, I think. So, and again, you won't have much time to make a presentation.
No, and Sam, if I could convince you guys to make it outdoors, I would highly like that, because I will bring an excavator to the town meeting, and I'll be turning it on right at the time of our speech.
And possibly a jackhammer or two.
Yeah.
What you need to do is equip the committee with one of these portable air horn things when it passes.
Yeah.
Sound off. Create lots of noise. But again, I think that information, education, and preparation are the kind of things that put you in the best position, and see what happens. I think you've made a lot of progress here in terms of the language. I think has taken care of some of the likely substantial objections that you were going to run into, I think. So I'm optimistic, but you just never know what's going to happen at town meeting.
Thanks, Sam. And, Lisa, thank you for pushing the committee in a lot of different ways. But, I didn't realize, this was an issue throughout the town. And I'm just saying, how do you convince somebody like me who didn't go through this process with you guys to say, oh, this is a no-brainer, just sign it and move on. And I think that's the challenge for us, is how do you convince somebody who doesn't know that there's a problem because they've never seen it or heard it in this case?
I think that's what we need to lead with. That, over 50% of the town said that they had an issue with noise. And from the survey.
Yeah.
And we only had, a small part, and, it may not be statistically significant, but I'm sorry, there's only going to be, it'd be great to see 400 people at the town meeting, but I think it's typically between 200 and 400 that show, and there's days that I've seen probably closer to 2. So it's, it'd be great to have more people there to speak up, but I think they really need to know that there are people that are dealing with noise, and there are things that could be done to help reduce that noise, and that this noise is affecting people's health. And and if we were neighborly and we were, considerate of one another, and if the people that came in to take care of our properties that we pay were considerate of the neighbors, we wouldn't have to have a noise bylaw. But it's just unfortunate that that is not the case. So, I mean, working until
As it is
8,
with
9
almost
o'clock
all
at
laws.
night, it's not, 8, 9 o'clock at night. We talked about that earlier. It's just crazy that you would subject your neighbors to that. So, but it's a place to start. I think it's really about balance and saying, honestly, we're trying to figure out how we can get something passed so that there's at least the opportunity to call someone and have the noise evaluated. And, there are there's a noise disturbance of the peace on the book, but for whatever reason, when I've called at 5:30 in the morning, when I've been disturbed, no one's come out to help me. So hopefully with this noise bylaw on the books, things will be considered and enforced.
What's next on our agenda?
I'm just trying to write the email. I wanted to read it to you guys before I sent it, but sorry about that. I wanted you guys to all know what I wrote. That's pretty much scheduling on future meetings. Is where I'm at.
Mhm.
You have to pick the next meeting though, right?
Yeah. I don't know if we want to do one 2 weeks out.
So
We can work on the homework just like Tim did here. We can work on that. Tim, if you could send that.
I'm gonna
draft.
I'll start the end of the meeting with the V11 as well as the documents for the meeting.
Okay.
Quick question. Should we schedule something in April for a public forum just to update the citizens of what the bylaw is?
Well,
Just as another, or is it a can of worms we're opening?
so I was gonna say, we have an unknown in front of us. The select board can choose to modify this document any way they see fit.
Mhm.
So I seriously doubt that they modify it drastically. But when they meet with advisory, and if advisory says we won't support this because of this thing being in there, the select board has the option to take it out and get advisory support. So if we wait 2 weeks and they're meeting tomorrow, I don't know if it matters at all to us, but we're going to get it back to us, and then we have to then agree or disagree with whatever was modified as the committee to that document.
No, it's their document.
I'm just saying, like, if we keep doing more legwork to make this thing supported, but we fundamentally disagree with whatever they did. Just say they take out a major section that we weren't okay with. Let's just say, this isn't, I can't imagine this happening. But let's just say they decide to put contractor and homeowner hours back together and do a single approach to it. We then have to, some of what we're doing is either supporting or not supporting that initiative. So I'm not saying anything's going to happen. I'm just pointing it out as an example of what could happen. So if we wait 2 weeks from now, we're going to have, I guess, a clear picture of what the select board is going to want to bring forward.
I have a suggestion. We have a list of 125 people that asked for updates. I think it's really important that we, as the committee, send out an update, including V11, what the document that we're sending over to the Board of Selectmen, so people can see what we came up with and what,
V12.
No, it's V12 now, but yes.
Okay, yeah, V12, whatever that last one is before it goes off to the Board of Selectmen. And I think that they should know that this is what we worked on as a committee. We want you to see this. We're sending it off to the Board of Selectmen. to make their revisions.
And they did ask to be informed, so.
Yep.
Well,
Lisa,
I mean, I think that that's a good idea, but I think that should be done with this, like the
the
question and
frequently asked
answer
questions.
document. And once we decide, I don't think the selectmen are going to change this drastically. They went through it before. They didn't have overwhelming, they gave us direction. There was a lot of minor little things. I didn't get the impression that they were going to change this in any major form. So I think it's going to be acceptable what they do. I would imagine they're going to accept it as a whole. So after that, we can send out, if that's a great thing as far as the program, the email, then we can do the, the question and answers, whatever we decide as far as program. I see a couple hands. Tim, you were first.
John was first.
Oh, John, you were first.
So Lisa, I think I like your comment about sending it out. I would just say, I would hold until we understand what the select board approves or any minor changes. Because the last thing is we don't want to undercut the select board's tweaks. And all of a sudden we have to explain minor changes. The other thing is Lee mentioned, we need to also craft the summarization from us to justify some of our thinking, like the leaf blowers. I think it's important to really understand, because some of those recipients had issues that we're not really addressing. And I think it's
Right.
important for us to address those and why. So I think, by the middle of April, we need to send that out, but I think we can hold back a little bit to
Right,
really
right.
I don't
craft
think
the
we have to
message.
send it out this week. We can wait.
But we do have to send it out, Lisa. We have that obligation that we've said to those citizens who took the time and gave us their emails.
Yeah.
I
Not
agree.
only an
And I
obligation,
think
but it's a
this
great
would be a
idea.
good time, but that would be, that's my suggestion. And obviously everything comes down to a vote. But I
good
think
with
it's
that.
important. I think it's important that they understand that this is what we've decided on. Although I have to say that, there are certain things in there that I would have left in and,
Mhm.
We agree with you, and we understand. why
yeah,
you would
no,
like
I
to do that.
mean,
Yeah.
when we're asked to do something and then they come back and they say, no, we don't think you should have that in there, but why did we do the survey in the first place?
Well,
So
the way to describe it
that's-
is we'd be sending them data on what we've sent or information on what the bylaw is. I'd want to have the augmentation of the presentation or the summarization notes, which is now we're giving them understanding of what we, how our thinking, why we didn't really do the leaf blowers, or why we're not addressing certain J breaks and other things that some members brought up for legal reasons or logical reasons. So
When we send that
Right.
out, we might actually want to total all the hours that we have spent in meetings on this so they can appreciate how much work has actually gone
John,
in.
do you have an ongoing count, John, on that?
I went and looked at the Zoom meetings, and
It's like
you
30 hours.
can get the number of hours on each of the Zoom meetings, add them up. I'm not telling you, it's
It's probably around 30, I'm going to guess.
yeah, sure, go ahead. More,
Probably more than
a
that.
lot more than that.
Two,
Because
two and
we
a-
do
2.5,
need that
3
research
hours.
for our, that would be a good research point to say,
Okay.
we talked about everything. We put in 41 hours and,
Well, we're
know.
spending almost 80 hours per month. on-
Times 6 or times 7.
Yeah,
You
you're
know,
spending
how
about,
many person hours are in this? It's not like we've taken it lightly.
John, what's the number? You got the number there. What's the
Come
number?
on, John.
well, I haven't looked at it in the last couple of weeks, but it was on average about 72 hours per month across the committee.
Oh, you're talking about multiply.
Yeah,
How
number of hours per meeting times, 6 or 7, and it's on average 72 hours, which is that's almost 2 weeks worth of work.
hmm
So the town got some good value out of it. And I think it's been really collegial discussions back and forth. So,
Tim, I see you got your hand.
Yeah, I was just simply going to say, sending out the emails because the town does not have a easy way of sending this out is a giant hassle. So if we could limit our communication to like one more major update,
Yep.
I think that that's in our best interest, because then when we do get feedback, we're not like sending out another thing and another thing and another thing. It's kind of like, this is where we're at. And then it helps us hone our presentation from that point to D-Day. So that's all I had to say is like, I think it's good to get the FAQs cleaned up, to get that scenario pages made and created. And then once those couple things are good to go, then we send it with the draft that is if we continue to agree with what changes have been made, we send it all together as a cohesive package to the distro list. And then I think my Southborough blog post would be appropriate, maybe a to the editor, or maybe we get an expose or something like that about what this is, and it accompanies the timing of the email update.
Yeah. Cindy, do you have your hand up still?
Yeah. I just, don't hate me, but was sort of like into this presentation handout, whatever. I would like to meet briefly next week and just get an update on where selectmen and advisory are. I mean, I agree with you, Pete. I don't think they're going to change it, but who knows? And work on the presentation / handout a little bit more, and then maybe take, figure out when we can firm it up and send the final version out to all the people who wanted the feedback. Because
I'm fine. You want to have a short meeting next week, next Wednesday? Does that work for anybody?
Every time we say short meeting, it becomes long. So can we put it the definition of time frame on the meeting if we're going to say short meeting? And
Sure.
1 hour meeting?
How about just a meeting then?
I can only meet on Monday, Thursday, or Friday next week. Tuesday, Wednesday, I already have important meetings for me scheduled.
I am
and
never
Monday
retiring.
won't do because they won't have met with the selectmen yet, right?
Right.
So how
Well,
about?
How about the Monday? How about the Monday after?
They meet
The week of April 4th, I'm like open the whole week. So I have no problems any day that week. Cindy can't do Mondays, I think, though.
So when are they meeting
what's up?
with the advisory? Is that the
Oh, I mean,
the
no, I'll
29th?
call you back in a little while.
tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Oh, they're meeting tomorrow. Okay.
They're meeting
So
tomorrow.
will we have feedback then tomorrow?
Again, I didn't look at the agenda, but I'm assuming any feedback will be public record by the end of tomorrow because the meeting's an open meeting.
They're going over the whole warrant though, aren't they?
Yeah, so when they get to the noise bylaw section, they need to vote to agree or disagree on it and any changes so they can close the warrant, because what they're doing is active, as I understand it, they're actively going through the entire thing so they can close it to be printed. That's my understanding. I could be wrong on that, but that's the way I understood the email when it was requested for what version is being presented.
How about a week from Monday?
Cindy
So
said that Mondays don't work for her, I think, right?
the 4th,
Yeah, the 4th.
all right, well, I'll make it work. How's that?
Is any time better for you than other times, Cindy?
No, I'll figure it out. I'll figure it out.
So we can't meet on the 31st? That Thursday? Did you say, Lee, you had the Thursday you were open or no?
So I am open on Thursday, the 31st.
Okay.
Would that work
How's
for everyone?
everybody else?
Thursdays, we're working for a while there.
Yeah.
Would that- That's
Thursday'd be good for me.
Okay.
What time?
want to
You
do
like 7:30?
I like 7:30.
Okay.
I'll post a meeting.
Are we picking the time frame for this meeting? I'm saying like this is how much
No.
time we're given this.
No.
Yeah, 7:30 to 7:45.
So we're just gonna review what the final draft from the BOS. And then if we have additions to the FAQs, we can do those, right?
Just a status update. Hopefully we'll review what whatever has happened since now, between now and then we can work on the presentation more, and that's it. Shouldn't be very long.
So we might have a problem. Every meeting room says it's booked that day,
Oh, crap.
but I haven't seen that happen before. So
Hmm.
I can try and pick one and just get denied, but I mean, like, we might run out into a problem when having a Zoom room.
So what is it? They only have a certain amount of rooms?
Only 3. And everyone's busy. So I mean, I could just put it in, talk to Jay, Matteo, the tech.
How about if we put it in at 7?
It doesn't matter. The rooms are busy.
7 to 7:30?
At 7:30, they're busy. So let me just see
I
what
know,
happens.
but that means we get half hour.
How about at 8?
I'm trying a couple different times to see when they book the rooms.
I mean, if we really think that we won't be long, on Wednesday, the 30th, I should be done with the meeting that I've got by 8:30 to 9.
Mm.
So I could meet after that, but I'm running that meeting on the 30th. We're spending money.
Okay, the 29th is out, right? Tuesday, the 29th?
It would have to be late again for me.
Let's see how Tim makes out with different times. See if we can get in.
What's interesting is it's showing they're busy on all the days.
Because everybody's getting ready for town meeting.
I don't know. I'm gonna just try and book the 31st, 7:30, like we talked about, and see if they approve my request.
So can we agree on an alternate date of Monday, the 4th at 7?
Sure.
I know, Cindy, you said you had to juggle a few things around, but
Yeah,
in case that doesn't work, I want to have a date that we can at least get together and figure out our schedules from there.
okay.
I'm
Would
going to block.
7:30 be better, Cindy, for you? A little later?
It doesn't matter. It's, wait a minute. Actually, yes, 7:30 would be more workable. If that's okay.
Okay, so if we are unsuccessful for March 31st, then I'll put it on the same thing for April 4th.
Okay,
All
Is
right.
that cool with everybody?
Yep.
Yep.
Send out an email. Let us know what happens.
Yeah. That'll be coming from Tim. Well, I'll have to post. So Tim, I can't post the meeting until you get that issue addressed, right?
So there's 3 meetings going on that night. There's EDC, ARPA, and St. Mark's. So we definitely don't look like they're gonna get a room going up against St. Mark's, ARPA, or EDC. And unless we started earlier, if we ended by 7, we could have a room. So if we wanted to go 6 to 7, we could get a room, but we can't get a room on the 31st until at the earliest 9 p.m. or earlier than 7. Or, you know,
wait, could we do it like at 5:30 to 7?
Boy, I'm working on the 31st, so probably that's
Oh.
just about when I'm getting home.
Okay,
How about 6 to 7? Will you be home by 6, Lee?
I should be home by 6 on the 31st. My
How
wife
about that, folks?
is delaying dinner, but she'll live. She'll just go over to her daughter's maybe and have dinner there. So you want to shoot 6 to 7 on the 31st?
Yeah.
Well, at least it puts a limit to how long it can go.
It'll still be daylight out too.
Okay, and then I still think putting a second one on the books because of
Yeah.
being up against things is smart. So when's the day that we said we would like to do it again? Assuming we can,
April 4th at 7:30.
on the 4th?
Yeah.
Yep.
Of course, if the weather is bad, I won't be working at all next Thursday. Like the weather tomorrow is supposed to be like instrument conditions all day long.
Okay, so we have that one on the books. So just the 31st and the 4th. Do we want to go back to a Thursday for another date in April to have one later in the month, like maybe the 21st or 28th?
I'm going on vacation, starting the 13th through the 26th.
Ooh, 2 weeks?
Wow.
Nice.
I know. I've never taken a 2-week vacation.
I've never taken a 2-day vacation.
Actually,
That's sad.
the week of the 11th is not good for me.
Okay.
So
Well,
28th.
we could talk more about that once we get everything back. Maybe
Okay.
we'll know more about where our schedule is as far as the life of this thing.
If we're okay with it, I'm just gonna put the 28th on the calendar and then we can decide to cancel it later, but at least I'll have a room.
Of April?
Yeah,
Yeah, sure.
Okay,
Good.
I'm
Thank you.
checking to make sure I can do the 28th. Let me see.
I think that's Wednesday. Is it a Wednesday?
Thursday.
It's a Thursday. So the 28th, I have something from 6 to 7:30. So if we did 7:30 and beyond, it would work.
okay. I mean, we could do that Wednesday too, if that's any better, but I was trying to give Lisa some time to get back. I'm okay
Lisa,
with
when
that.
do you get back?
I'm back on the 26th.
You don't want to jump into this the first full day you're back.
I think I'll have jet lag.
Okay, so 28th, 7:30, and we can decide if we want to keep that as things move forward.
Okay,
Cool. So we got 3 meetings scheduled now.
So Tim, you're gonna let me know about, you're confident that you can get it 6 o'clock? It'll accept it?
It accepted it, yeah. I
Alright.
saw a different view where I could see what was going on. And as long,
Okay.
they're gonna tell us we have to be wrapped up by like 7:05. So as long as we can confidently wrap up by 7:05, because we lose the room after that.
All right, I'll do an agenda then for that. All right, so I'm gonna send this letter to Lisa, CC and Mark Purple. Please see the attached bylaw draft. It has been previously reviewed by legal counsel with some minor suggestions. We made the suggested suggestions, voted to approve it on 3/23/22. Please let us know any next steps.
Also add that the changes are in red.
Okay,
And we rearranged homeowner. So that's why that's in red. The words didn't change.
that's gonna be confusing. They're not gonna know anything.
Well, I know that.
Can we just send it all as the final, no red? Send it all black.
They already got V11, so you're gonna want to call out what changes have been made since V11.
I'm sorry, I've got something going on at home, at family. I've got to call my brother back.
Okay.
Okay. I hope
So I'm
everything's
gonna get
okay.
off.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye,
Good luck,
Cindy.
Cindy.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Why isn't it leaving?
I would just say the changes from V11 are in red. And then it's real simple. It's only like 2 definitions, and the words we changed from new construction permit to,
Yeah, I know what we did, but we moved that all we did was flip 2 paragraphs, but now those 2 entire paragraphs are gonna be in red, and they're gonna think we changed them, and all we did was move them.
only the one that we moved is in red. And then the other one that we changed is in red. I made one of them black. That was,
The one that we didn't just moved, can you leave that black? Because we didn't change it? Is that, do you have that ability?
I mean, I can, but we did move it. So when they look at their V11, it's going to be different. So I was trying to make it easy for them to see what changed. I can add a note to it.
Yeah, just put a note that we just moved it up earlier in the document.
Okay, I'm still going to call it V12.
We made the suggestions, voted, so you say what, see red areas? Is that what you want me to put down?
It just say new changes in red.
Okay. New changes in red.
Yeah, because it's only demolition permit, new construction permit, and then we modified the name of the permit in number 2.
Right.
I just got rid of this homeowner work noise, and I just put a comment beside it. So that way it doesn't look like a change, it just has a note. Okay, so I'll send this out. Are you, on your list, are you CCing Vanessa Hale and Mark Purple?
I am Mark Purple. I didn't put Vanessa, but I will.
Yeah.
So I got Lisa and then CC, Mark and Vanessa. Everybody cool with that?
Yep.
Okay, I'm sending this now.
Yep, looks like it just arrived.
Heard it.
Now I'm sending the homework items that I did.
So Tim, this draft that you sent me, that's what I can send them? Or
Yeah.
did you change that
V12?
since then?
Well, see, the thing is, I kept them both V12 because it's the same document we were working on. I just got rid of the red. So
So,
get the newest V12 I just sent.
okay, so I'm gonna have to, okay,
Yeah, delete the old one and then download the new one from the email I just sent.
I'm just forwarding it is all I'm doing it, so
Oh yeah, so just copy what you forwarded
that's
and
what
then
I'm doing, yeah.
Will you CC us on that email that goes out? Then I'll know that I've got the right version.
Forward to Lisa. Mark Purple.
Tim, is it possible to label it .0? So at least there's some.
I mean, I could. Is it going to cause a lot of confusion? Literally, the only difference between the two is one's in red and one's in black.
Then it doesn't matter.
All right, I'm gonna send that to the whole committee.
Thank you.
Do you want me to change V12 with common instead of red? You want me to change that title, Tim?
Wait, what was that? It should say in your email that just says changes in red.
Yeah, I have that, but it says forwarded V12 with comment instead of red. Is that the title you want me to leave, or you want me to change that?
Oh, I mean, I think that's fine, but you could easily just call it noise bylaw V12.
That's what I'm gonna do.
Yeah. I'm not used to forwarding emails like that. I always like download it and start a new email or whatnot.
Noise bylaw draft.
Yeah, draft V12. As long as you just say we made minor changes or something in there, which I think you
Yeah,
set up.
I said, I'll read it to you. It's only brief. Please see the attached bylaw draft. It has been previously reviewed by legal counsel with some minor suggestions. We made the suggestions and voted to approve it on 3/23. New changes in red. Please let us know any next steps. And then I put my name.
I'd just say new changes from V11. Like the thing is, we gave them V11 like yesterday. So they're going to be wondering why is there an update so quickly?
New changes from V11 in red.
Yeah.
Okay. Ready to send?
I think you're good.
Sent. All right, folks. Everybody ready to adjourn?
We did everything, right? We have to close public comment.
How about we close public comment and adjourn all with the same thumb?
We're allowed to.
We have 5 thumbs. Thank you very much, folks, for your service.
Thank you.
And we'll see you guys
Next week.
early on
Yeah,
the 31st.
6 it is.
6 it is.
very good.
Good
Thanks.
night.